ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for 502 Sports. Hey everyone, welcome to a new edition of 502 Sports. I'm your host, Adam Hitt, in studio with Jimmy Nolan and Adam Wilkinson. We have a great show for you today with a very special guest, and we also want to shout out to our friends at Take Thai for supporting our local sports coverage here at 502 Sports. You have to try Take Thai. It's great food, great people, so please check them out for your next lunch or dinner because they're supporting our coverage of local athletics. All right, gentlemen, I want to jump right in. We have a very special guest on the show today. Mike Snyder is the strength and conditioning coach at Trinity High School. He is a two-time Coach of the Year at Trinity. He was also named the 2018 Regional Coach of the Year by the National High School Strength Coaches Association, along with a four-time nominee as a Coach of the Year. Mike, really want to welcome you to the 502 Sports Show, and thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. And I did not realize this was one of your sponsors, but Take Thai. We just got it the other night, and it was phenomenal. So I fully support the sponsorship of the show from them. Really good food. So
absolutely,
yeah, great food. That's for sure.
Yeah, they've been really great to us and helping to support our coverage of local sports. And they, that's one of the reasons why we were able to do this and have people like you on the show. And I think, Mike, you have a lot of experience. You have been at Trinity for quite a while now as a coach. You've also been at Trinity as a player, and we wanted to really talk to you today about, the state championships and most recently the football state championship. So I'm going to toss it over to Adam and Jimmy here, and we're going to talk a little bit of state championship football.
Cool.
Yeah. Mike, congrats on winning the third one in a row. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. First question for you. It's just, what do you think made this team so special?
I mean, each championship, each championship team is obviously going to be a little bit different. But, this one clearly led by a really strong junior class, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But, especially I think with high school sports, everything begins and ends with your senior class, whether it's you got 22 senior starters, or just 22 senior contributors, or just whatever role that they may play. There needs to be a strong leadership foundation through those guys. We were lucky enough that we had quite a bit of seniors who were contributors to our team, and they were, really, really good leaders. They helped bring the juniors along because, even early in the year, while our juniors may be the guys that, those are the kids getting recruited by big schools and everything, they're still young kids, and that senior class is able to bring those guys along. And then even, when you look at the guys that you might not see on Friday nights, the guys who are, grinding it out every day in practice on the scout teams and trying to give the best looks possible, they play a major role. And I think the senior class, whether it be the guys who were playing Friday night or the guys who were giving us looks on scout teams, were a really, really large parts of what contributed to our success.
Now, I was going to ask, are there any kind of conflicts? Like you mentioned that this is a very junior heavy team. Being recruited by, Division I colleges coming, out next year, after the following year. Does they ever butt heads with the seniors or anything like that? Or, I mean, is everything always hunky dory? I'm sure there's got to be a situation where, somebody may step out of line, or is it all just kind of normal high school ball stuff? Is it,
I think for the most part, it's normal high school, stuff.
Yeah.
Again, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. So our coaching staff does a really good job, especially early in the year when the recruiting stuff is starting to ramp up and kids are starting to get looked at. Our coaching staff does a really good job of, making sure that everybody realizes, no matter what you're going to do at the next level, when you get to college, we're still all on the same playing field here at Trinity, and we are still one team. So we really try to make it a focal point to make the kids realize, hey, we are living in the present right now.
Yeah.
And you might go on to play college football, and the guy next to you might go on to try to be an engineer or something out of college. And we just try to make them realize that, hey, we're one unit here. So it doesn't matter what's going to happen in 2 years or 3 years. It's what's happening right now, because that is ultimately what is going to be one of the contributing factors to our success or failure on a season.
Yeah, I feel like at Trinity, they've done a good job of that throughout the years. You can tell with 30 wins, having that senior class really show the way, lead the way, kind of showing the juniors, sophomores, even freshmen kind of the right way to go. And kind of leads into the next question. You mentioned it was a very junior-led team. So what are your thoughts for how's the team looking next year?
You mean as a possible four-peat or?
Yeah, really
okay.
Possible four-peat. You never know.
I mean, it's got to be on your mind, right? You can't win 4 unless you win 3.
Yeah. So of course, I mean, we're always trying to, just win the next one.
Yeah.
So the next one would be 4. But we got a lot of kids coming back. But what a lot of people don't realize is, I think it's 4 of the 5 offensive line graduates.
Yeah.
And a lot that I think the game is, it's the cliche, it's won in the trenches. So we've got to replace that offensive line, and we had 2 outstanding defensive linemen who are graduating, and Keandre and Jabari, and then again some more guys on the back end with Sonny Bratcher, Grant Botner. We're 2 and 3 year starters. And then again, on the outside on offense, Cross Watson's graduating, who was our leading receiver on the year. So while we do got a lot coming back, we got a lot to replace. So there's our work is going to be cut out for us. So we're going to approach it like, we got a heck of a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you're going to have that year after year, especially when you've only got 4 years at the particular school, and every school is going to go through that. You're going to catch your highs, when your position players and your guys in the trenches, they're able to stick together. You got a good group coming in, as a freshman and sophomore, and you're allowed, they're allowed to play together. JV, varsity, going all the way up when they do get to be juniors and seniors and earn their starting role on varsity, and they've played together, and just that continuity, I'm sure, makes it a lot, smoother transition when they do reach the varsity level. But like you said, though, it's tough. It's tough. I'm a firm believer in the offensive line. When we were younger, it was always your quarterback, your running back, your skill position players. But the older I've gotten, the more respect that I've had for the offensive and defensive lines, opening holes for the quarterback, for the running back, protecting the quarterback. And it's just, getting after the quarterback when you don't necessarily have to blitz, your 3 or 4 man rushes, getting home. So definitely a big fan of offensive and defensive lines and how they can basically, run the game if they need to. How
probably
they can,
the most important part of football is that's not really talked about is the offensive line. From pro all the way down to
everybody else gets
high
the glory.
school and probably even grade school. If everything starts offensively, everything starts with the offensive line. Because if you can't block, you're not going to be able to do anything. So,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, good. That's awesome, Coach. Do you have a favorite team? How about that? Like, you've been around Trinity for the better part of 20 years, between as a player and, coming back as a coach. I don't want to put you on the spot because we did graduate together. So I'm sure that graduating class holds a special place in your heart. But excluding them, just we're gonna put it on a even playing field. You know what? I'm sure there are certain moments from each season that you can recall back and enjoy. But what would be your favorite team?
Yes. So excluding the 2001 state championship, again,
it's clearly the best team there.
Oh, absolutely. That was very tongue in cheek. So two kind of jump out, and again, it's not a slight to any of them.
No.
They're all great and they're all memorable. Our 2014 state championship. Myself and a lot of the other coaches who have been around a while reflect fondly upon that one, because we went into the playoffs 5-5. So we had, I think every game that we had lost that year of the 5, I think was, if you added them all up, was less than 10 points. So they were all very close games.
Mm-hmm.
But we went into the playoffs 5-5. So every playoff game was on the road. And we kind of have a running joke with some of the coaches of, we're never going to eat Jimmy John's again. And if they're a future sponsor, they're great. Right? But we're never going to eat Jimmy John's again, because we had the 5 playoff games on the road, which was all Jimmy John sandwiches. And then I think we had like 4 games on the road again that year. We were traveling out of state, where we got all Jimmy John sandwiches. So we were just Jimmy John'd out.
Yeah,
But,
I'm sure.
back to the football part, was 5-5. Nobody gave us a chance. If the rules back then were like they were, there was a period in time where only the top 2 teams in the district would have made the playoffs. So if those rules were still in place, we wouldn't have made the playoffs. I think we were 3rd in the district that year. 5-5. Every game's on the road, and we went on the road and we just absolutely smashed everybody, because we came together as a unit and we did what we were capable of doing. So that was an extremely satisfying one. And then the COVID year, obviously everything that was going on with COVID. We had games canceled.
Right.
We had starters who couldn't play some games, but somehow we were able to work through the pods and the rules and the restrictions and have, I don't even want to say arguably, the most dominant Trinity defense that has ever been put on the field. Again, I think statistically they gave up negative yards rushing on the year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember it being low, but I didn't realize it was that. Good Lord.
Yeah. Now again, we didn't play a full 50 points. We didn't play a full 15 games, so maybe it would have been different, or maybe we would have given up less yards. I don't know. But that 2014 team, because we had early struggles and overcame it, and then just 2020, just because of everything that went into that year with the COVID and all that nonsense. Those are the 2 that really jump out.
Yeah, looking at that defense, they gave up only a total of 48 points that year.
Oh, did you got it?
I got to pull it up. Nice. I don't have the rushing stats. I'll definitely take you
48 points.
48 points the entire year.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's Well, that's remarkable. Okay, well, thank you, Coach, for that. I appreciate that. But we do some of that 2001 team, right?
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah,
it's got a special place in my heart too.
Going back to this year's team, is there like a big point of adversity or somewhere like a turning point in this year that you saw on the team, like something kind of clicked and things just kind of gelled?
Obviously you're gonna look back at your losses whenever something happens like this. The Moeller game and the Cincy St. X game, again, 2 really, really good football teams. Both games were lost. Both games were lost by 3 points. They were, again, really good teams. The Moeller game particularly, because we had a nice lead going into half. And it kind of showed itself early in the year when we had a scrimmage against Springfield. Similar deal. We had a nice lead going into the half. And in the third quarter of that scrimmage, it's a 3-quarter scrimmage. The third quarter of that scrimmage, we allowed them to come back. Okay, scrimmage, no big deal. We're trying to win, but we're not trying to win, sort of deal. But this one counted.
You take the lesson from,
Yeah, so the Moeller game counted, and we did not finish. We did not step on the throat, and we allowed them to come back. And when you give a good team, a little glimmer of hope, they're going to take advantage of it, and it ended up, biting us in the butt there. So I think that was when it might have clicked with the kids a little bit of, hey, we're a decent football team here, but we still got some work to do. We have to learn how to play a complete game. And things, again, while we lost again a couple of weeks later against Cincy X, in similar fashion, like that was the start of it, of them kind of realizing that, we've got to put it together for 4 quarters. We can't just show up for a half and cruise control. With our schedule, we got to go all 4.
Yeah. And that's the value of playing that type of competition though too, right? Is you get to play it, you've got to play all 4 quarters and make sure you finish those games. And that's part of what, when it comes playoff time, your teams are ready to play those kinds of games. And I think we may have seen that in the championship game a little bit of not playing their best game overall, right? But they did what they had to do to finish out that game and get the job done in the championship.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So again, South Warren was an extremely well coached football team with some really nice football players on them, and they got us out of sync. They got us out of rhythm. They caused some confusion. They did some things that we didn't necessarily expect or they hadn't shown on film. And if I don't know if it would have been different, but I feel like our guys, because they had experienced adversity like that, where things didn't always go their way, it did kind of benefit them, especially in the second half and that third quarter, where South Warren started to get a little bit of momentum going. And it's no panic. It's do what you do your job, and more times than not, things are going to come out on the right side for us. And again, we were lucky enough to be on the right side of that game.
So then it was, I'm not going to say it's never a good thing when you lose, but it was definitely a good learning experience coming from those losses to, like you said, when they started to make their comeback, like, all right, hold on, we've been here before. Let's not let this spiral out of control. Let's, like you said, do your job, get focused, get back in the game, and let's just do what we do. So
absolutely. I mean, so
how hard is that to relay that to kids? Like you said, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, because I'm sure when you have that snowball effect where 2 things go wrong, then there's a third that goes wrong. Like, how do you get them to stay focused? Remember what we've taught you guys, remember what you've learned, and just do, like you said, do your job. Like, how hard is that?
I think a lot of that starts with what we do in the summer. And it's just the amount of repetitions that our kids get. Because, when bullets start flying and, people are starting to stress out and start to breathe heavy and stop thinking clearly, when all that stuff happens, you fall back onto kind of almost habit in that, all right, this is my route. I'm running 7 steps and then I'm breaking. So it's, this is where I drop. This is where I drop when I'm in this coverage. This is what I do when I'm running this stunt. So you kind of fall back to those fundamentals that have been drilled in from day one in early June, or from the talks on the whiteboard, or going over breaking down huddle film in the spring. It's the amount of repetitions, physical reps and mental reps that our kids take, where they can, all right, forget about everything else. What is my job here? And they get that. They get thousands and thousands and thousands of reps. So you just kind of fall back on that. And I think our coaches do a good job of making sure the kids focus on that and remember that when times get tough.
Trust the process, right?
Yep,
absolutely.
Trust the process.
Well, all right. You mentioned, summer workouts. So, football season just ended. I'm sure the football players, at least, or the football only players, are going to enjoy a nice little winter break coming back here. But when do you guys start conditioning for the following year, at least for football? How long of a break do you give them? How hard do you push them in the, I'll say, the spring semester here? Because I know when summer hits, you guys can ramp it up a little bit more. But what do you do as far as winter break, spring break, through the spring part of the season?
Yeah. So assuming like this year, if our season ends when we want it to end, first week of December, we have nothing football related until the third week of January. And then even then, a lot of our guys work with private trainers and everything, and that's great. That's fine. But we really, really strongly encourage them to try to take at least 2 weeks off to just let your body return back to normal. Just get rid of some of the aches, the bruises, the swelling. And when I say 2 weeks off, I mean, go watch Netflix, guys.
Right.
Be a couch potato for a couple weeks. Yeah.
Don't want to
Go
see
be
you
a
in the weight room. Don't want to see you anywhere.
I don't want to see you.
Yeah.
Go play basketball. Shoot some hoops with your buddies, but
Yeah.
let's not do anything hard. So third week of January we will start, and then we will go 3 days in the weight room for a couple weeks, and then the last week of February we will add a fourth day on Tuesdays, which is pure speed training. So we run weekly speed sessions. Starting in February, and then we ran a speed session the Wednesday before the state championship. So we will run speed sessions from February to December. And then as we get closer to spring break, we'll add another day of more multi-directional training, where they might be going through some stations again, working on change of direction and everything. And then after spring break is about the time we'll have that period of time where we can do some spring football. So the weight training and everything will back off a little bit. We'll still do our speed training.
Yeah.
And then I believe the rule on spring football is you have 15 days to get 10 practices in. So whatever that window is, that hasn't been determined yet, we'll do that. And then once that's over, we'll go back to our 3 days of lifting and speed work until summer starts. And then summer camp, that's when it really ramps up for the kids.
Sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned, it's very senior led. They show the way. Do you have a lot of graduating seniors go back and do that in the spring and do any sort of weight training?
100%. 100%. So primarily the guys who have plans to go play in college.
Mhm.
We 100% keep it open to them if they want to do our speed work. Their weight training work, they will not do it with the team, but they do have the opportunity to come and do it in another open time after school, or they can be in my class and we allow them to do it during the school day, whether that be my programming for them, or depending on what college they go to, they might get a packet that their strength coaches send out to them, and I help walk them through that.
Yeah.
So they can keep training, because they're still a student, so why go pay for a gym membership?
Absolutely.
When you've got a facility right there. So yeah,
Makes sense.
they're done, it's not like, hey, get out of here, we're done with you guys. It's you're still here for a few more months, so
Yeah.
let's get it in.
Especially if they plan to go to the next level and play.
I was gonna say, you
Absolutely.
mentioned that some of the strength coaches from the college level will give these kids packets. Will they reach out to you and ask you to do certain drills with them, or anything that they might want to see improvement for the player coming into college, or is that just something they'll relay to the player and have them do on their own with you?
Yeah, in some instances that has happened, but most of the time, no.
Okay.
Usually what happens is, these programs, whether it be big Power 4 schools or NAIA, whatever it is, they don't really know what the kid is coming from. So our players are going to get the same program as a kid from a different school. They're going to get the same program. So they really don't know what they're coming from. So a lot of them are, more or less not super specific. Going to be movements that a lot of people, can just kind of figure out on their own.
Okay.
So I'll help them through that, but if I can tell it's kind of a generic program, and there's some things that we might be able to do a little bit differently to help them prepare, I'll put my own spin on it for the guys.
Sure. Yeah.
That's great. It's good.
And Mike, how many different sports do you help coach?
Yeah, that's
at
gonna be my
Trinity?
next question. Yeah.
I think the better answer is, how many do I not? So bass fishing, I do not touch. And yeah, can you believe it? So bass, it's like bass fishing, and I think like archery are about the only teams that don't really do anything with us. So
Okay.
everything else, even believe it or not, even esports does weight train with us a little bit.
Get out of
So,
town.
That's crazy.
yeah,
I would never
yeah,
have guessed
so-
that. Never thought that one.
Well, I think
Yeah,
we just called out archery and bass fishing. They may be setting up a program.
Yeah,
with you.
step it up, archery and bass fishing. My goodness.
Yeah,
Of
yeah.
the-
So
Of the other
So-
sports, which one do you find most difficult to get a program together for, or the most challenging?
So the ones that are the most challenging, because not every program is going to be like football,
Yeah.
where I see those football guys almost 11 months a year, or we have a true off season phase, we have a true preseason, and a true in season. The ones that are challenging are going to be the ones that I only see during their sport window. So again, like winter sports, for example, technically can start October 15th. So there might be a team that starts their sport on October 15th, and that is the very first day that I see them in the weight room, which is not really in an ideal situation. That's not really how it should be. We should have time to prepare them for their season.
Yeah.
So those are those are the challenging ones. But we still feel like we do a really nice job of working with those guys, and it's really through no fault through the kids or through the coaches. It's just kind of dictated by the situation and the schedules that they're put in. So we make the best of those situations. But it's those teams that I really only see from the start of their season to the end of the season. I want to see everybody in season, off season, postseason, preseason, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, as we move into more kind of thinking about the strength and conditioning side of things, Mike, let's say you have a freshman athlete that's coming in, a freshman to Trinity into high school. How do you even start with building out a program for that, either for that individual or for the specific sport that they are participating in? Just knowing, the varsity level at any sport is, so much more difficult than what they're used to at the grade school level, and they're not fully developed yet. Their bodies, they haven't been in the weight room necessarily. So how do you start a freshman off, in a conditioning program to try to get them up to that level?
Yeah. So with our freshmen coming in, I really don't care what sport they play, whether it's a football guy, basketball guy, lacrosse guy, it doesn't matter. So to me, I assume they know absolutely nothing. Whether they've been training with a private trainer for 5 years or training with their dad or training with their buddies, I'm going to assume they know nothing, and I'm going to make them prove to me that, all right, I have an understanding of this. So when we get our kids, we will get the kids who are in the CSAA, they can start to come on campus once they've registered for us. So we'll have those guys for a few weeks after spring break, basically middle April to the end of the school year. And we start those guys with what we call our Block Zero program, which is very, very, very basic. So a lot of body weight movements. Again, learning how to do a proper push-up, learning how to hold a single leg stance. So we'll have a lot of isometrics, just where I'm holding positions. And those guys don't actually touch a weight until summer. So I see them in April for a few weeks, and then they won't actually get into the weight room because we do this in a gym. So there's absolutely no weights around. So they won't actually get into a weight room until June. And again, the reason is I want them to figure out how to control their body weight and control their person before we start to add external load. Because it doesn't make much sense to me to add load or add weight to a already poor pattern. Because then all we're doing is, making the inefficiencies worse.
I think that and risk for injury as well would be if you're not doing the proper technique.
100%.
Yeah.
And I'll give the analogy to parents of, this is a slow cook process. We don't have to rush to get a bar on our back or rush to bench pressing. It's like, what food usually tastes better? Something out of a microwave or something that's been in the crock pot or sitting on the smoker for 16 hours? Most people are going to say crock pot, smoker, unless you're a college kid, you don't love microwave food. So that's kind of the analogy I try to use.
Delicious.
Yes, microwave popcorn is delicious. My daughter loves that. So I really take a very, very slow approach. We do a lot of tumbling. So again, that's more or less teaching kids to fall. We do a lot of crawling, just different ways to learn to feel and control their bodies.
So talk about that. What would you say from back when we were in school from 4 years ago, biggest change from back then to now that's been the most beneficial, or certain technology
I was gonna
that's
say with
been
technology being different,
yeah,
I'm
how
sure
is,
that would
or
play a
even
part, but
nutrition as
maybe not.
well? Like, what do you see as the biggest change from over the last 20, 25 years?
Yeah, I mean, so technology was non-existent.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I was 17, 18 years old, so I really didn't know. I'm sure it was in some form or fashion at the professional levels, but at the high school level, non-existent,
Yeah.
non-existent. And now we are overrun with technology. We have so many resources at our hands. I've got, I use force plates with our kids where we do different jumps to identify various KPIs, identify asymmetries. The kids just want to know how high they can jump. That's cool. I'll tell you that. But I'm looking at different stuff. I use GPS tracking with our athletes. So every practice, every game. If you guys have been to games, pre-game or maybe even post-game, you'll see kids wearing little vests on their chest. They kind of look like sports bras almost.
Yeah.
Those are our GPS tracking devices. Again, where we're looking at player load, we're looking at high speed accelerations, we're looking at top speed, high speed decelerations, how long they're running at high speeds, how fast or how long it's taking them to accelerate from A to B. So we're looking at so many different things. And our workouts now have gone from writing them on a whiteboard to Excel sheets to now our workouts are on apps where kids can personalize things, where they can put their very own weights in, so that, it's all on their phone or it's all on a tablet, or we put them on TVs in our weight room. So technology is definitely the thing
Biggest
that
thing.
is the biggest difference. Now the kids they're coming in with a higher skill level, of a higher skill level at their sport,
Yeah.
because of the amount of training that they do at such a young age. Whether you think that's good or bad, I think that's a different conversation, but their skill level is so high. Now, on the back end of that, their skill level is so high, but their physical competency in terms of just general movement patterns is pretty low. You'd be amazed at how many kids don't have the ability to do a basic skip. But they when you watch them on the field, my gosh, they are just incredible at their sport. But the fundamental movement patterns, general motor skill, has, in my opinion, it's gone down a little bit. So I try to kind of bridge that gap a little bit, especially those first 1 or 2 years, with some of the foundational work that we do with our Block Zero program and into their freshman year.
Mike, what do you attribute, you're talking about some of that kind of coordination and just general body movement. What do you attribute some of that, maybe less maturity coming in at that level? What do you
Yeah.
attribute that to?
Well, again, I think a lot of it can be just the fact that they're just playing their sport.
Yeah.
So again, they can
focus
they
on
can
just one
yeah,
sport.
they can swing that bat, they can hit the fadeaway jumper, but they're not outside riding their bikes. They're not climbing trees. They're not playing pickup ball. It's the sport. It's the
The
sport.
singular
It's the
sport.
sport.
They
Yeah.
focus
And
on.
then when they're home, it's just like me. It's just like you guys probably. What are we doing? We're on our phones.
Yep.
We're sitting in front of a screen. So 20 years ago, that was not necessarily the case. Even before that, in our parents' generations, that was not necessarily the case. So I think that's a contributing factor. So I really think there should be a way that we can keep them trying to get better at their sport, because again, the skill levels through the roof,
Yeah.
for these kids. It really is incredible how good they are at their sports. But I think we need to find a way to find a medium between, all right, we're still really good at our sports, but just basic
Kind of go out and be a
basic
kid for a
patterns.
little bit in a way.
Yeah, go out
Yeah.
and go
Yeah.
out and be a kid, and
Yeah.
figure it out and fall on your face and like, oh, I'm not going to do that again, and then try to do it a different way to do, to get a little bit better at it. So there's got to be a way. And what is the answer? I don't know, but that's just my opinion.
Well, what do you think, Mike, about, I mean, it kind of goes along with what you're saying, but if you look at some of the younger kids, let's just say playing football or even playing soccer, like they're playing in more professional environments at a younger age, right? And there's, club teams, you've got all the, the youth teams and travel teams, things now for really young age kids that, for better or for worse, they're, like you said, they're getting that skill level. Their skill level is up at a different age level than it was before. But, it's like almost a professionalism of amateur, or youth sports. What is your thought on, just kids at those younger ages almost being treated like professional athletes now?
Yeah. I mean, does a 10-year-old really need to travel 8 hours in a car to go play a baseball tournament? I don't know.
Right.
I don't necessarily think, I don't think that's
No,
necessary.
they don't need to, but they definitely want to.
Yeah.
And then mom and dad want to too.
Mom and dad definitely don't want to drive 8 hours.
Oh, sure they do. If they say, "Hey, we're going to Florida for a week for little, Timmy's baseball tournament," they'll be like, "Okay, let's go to Florida for a week." Sure.
Yeah,
I could see it. I could see it coming from the parents too a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't think you can blame the parents either. Like it's that is the way of the world now. Because
Right.
if the kid wants to make the baseball team, and all the kids who are on the baseball team play for this travel team, and they're going to these tournaments,
they're going to miss out.
Oh, well, yeah, we want what's best for our kids, so we're going to do that. So it's hard. It's I feel for the parents in that regard, because it is hard to kind of put into a tough spot, especially if they realize, like, man, my 9-year-old kid's not elite. Why is he on a team that's elite and having to travel all these places? But if that's the route that you got to take to get there nowadays, then I guess you got to do it. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but I understand why it is what it is now.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll tell you what, Mike, like I'm going through that exact thing right now with my 9-year-old. He played for his grade school soccer team, and he was really, really good, is really good. And there were, up some competition that wasn't that great, and there's still some kids that like to look at the clouds and pick grass and stuff like that. And he finally came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, I'd like to play somewhere a little bit more competitive, where people take it a little more seriously." And in this league, all the coaches were parents. Now, some of them had basic soccer knowledge, some of them did not. But he was also saying that he wanted to be, not necessarily coached by the best, but he wanted someone with a little bit more knowledge too about the game and about different aspects. And so then as a parent, it's like, all right, well, let me see what I can do. Let me, let's see what's out there.
Yeah.
And so I do get that also from, a standpoint from the child also wanting to take the game, not ultra competitive, but definitely a little bit more serious, wanting to play better competition, wanting to play on a team where they take it as seriously as the kids do. Not that they have to win every game, but they definitely want, they want to feel challenged too.
Yeah, 100%. And when when it's driven from the kid, I'm more apt to support that.
Yeah.
Right.
But so like I think my final kind of point on that is, when it comes to youth athletics, a mentor of mine kind of said this. I don't know if he coined the phrase or he just started championing it, but nothing matters before puberty. In terms of this, because
I like that.
Right.
Because we've all seen the 10-year-old stud athlete.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to high school, what happens? And then we've also seen the 10-year-old who can't walk and chew gum. And then that kid blossoms.
Right.
Because as as we age and we develop, so many changes happen within our body. So
that makes sense.
So who's now there might be that 10-year-old stud athlete who also continues to be a stud till he's 30 years old.
Sure.
Awesome. Great. But I think we need to be not don't be quick to judge, what's going on at 11 years old.
Oh yeah.
When like this kid is just learning to brush his teeth consistently, So yeah, nothing, in my opinion, nothing matters before puberty.
I'm going to use that too. I definitely like that
Good
phrase
one.
also.
Yeah.
That is good for someone that's got kids that are into sports. I'm not envisioning them playing professional ball at any time. If they do, great, but it's an activity. It's a hobby that they
Yeah.
can do with their friends. I like that they're competitive, but they're also not going to cry when they lose. It's just part of the game. They know, shake hands, move on, and go home and live life. Like it's sports. It's supposed to be fun. It's not to be taken too seriously at the youth level, obviously. But once you start to get with come to high school and even that junior and senior year, okay, maybe you can start to think about life
Yeah.
after school, but not it shouldn't be before then. It in my humble opinion, I'm not a coach either, but it should just be fun at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. Just especially when they're younger, just have it as fun as you can be. And if they show any sort of emotion, great, that they care, but definitely make it as fun as possible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, Mike, I've got one last question for you because I know you want to get back to your family. We appreciate your time here. But as you have kids that come into your all's program at Trinity, and they want to go on and compete in college and play that sport in college, how do you manage those expectations and help them grow to meet those expectations and get to that point where they can play at the collegiate level?
Yeah, so I think first, you got to be honest with the kid and make sure his goals are realistic, because we got so many kids with Division I big time dreams, but they might not have the whether it's the physical skill set to run fast enough, or they might not be tall enough, or whatever it is, because unfortunately there is more or less a checklist on what what kind of criteria you got to meet, to be at that level. So they need to make sure that they're realistic. If they are a big time person, cool, let's take you there. Otherwise, we got to make them realize that while you might not be a ACC level football player or baseball player, there's still a lot of really, really good options out there for you. So I think that's important. Make sure that they understand the level that they're going to project to. Now, with today's world, that's not even necessarily a bad thing, because again, we see so many times now with the transfer portals and everything, guys going to these smaller schools because they might have been under recruited, and then they exceed the expectations, and now they are going to get to where they want to go. So we have had that conversation with some kids who might have the skill, but they don't have the measurables in terms of, I'm not heavy enough or I'm not tall enough. Like, all right, well, hey, then these are the guys that want you. Go here and show out and prove to everybody that you do belong, and go get your stuff.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's just helping them with whatever they need, whether it be working on, nutrition plans with them. The coaches really want to see me 15 pounds heavier, by June, or they'd like to see me a little bit lighter. So nutrition plans with them, making sure I'm available for any of the physical training that goes on in the weight room or speed work. But then, I think the big important part that a lot of our guys forget about is making sure their classroom stuff is in check. Because we've, unfortunately, us, and I'm sure so many other schools, we've had guys at colleges have really liked, but once they get into those transcripts, they start to back off, because, if you can't get into the school, then, the coaches, they're wasting their time when they recruit you.
Yeah.
So, we try to, manage their expectations, make sure it's realistic.
Excuse me, coach.
But really, it's just, make sure they take care of that classroom work, because you're still, again, it may not seem like it in some places, but you're still going to end up going to school. So you got to make sure you can get in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, Mike, we really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing some insights about high school athletics and your experience, and really wish you all the best in the future with all the programs at Trinity. So for Jimmy Nolan and Adam Wilkinson, I'm Adam Hitt, and we will see you next time on 502 Sports. And Mike, thanks again for joining
Thanks,
us. It was great
Coach.
to have
Thanks,
you.
Mike. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me, guys.